I'm going to read a passage where you talk about this. You're talking about the Islamic world. And you say, even those of the religiously committed who oppose exclusionist extremism and hostility to all outsiders are often strongly critical of what they see as the corrosive individualism and secularism of the West. Passive accommodation to the hedonism and materialism of secular Western culture is, in this view, to lack all conviction. The sense of such accommodation, in turn, generates further support for the passionate intensity that the most extreme positions represent. Now, I think what you're saying there is that there is some link between this kind of consumerist, single-minded, individualist Western form of nihilism from the point of view of traditional cultures and the repudiation that leads to terrorism. That it was it struck me as a kind of post-9/11 way of thinking about why terrorists are attacking America and the West. Is that, am I overdrawing it, or is that the point you're making?
I think you're not overdrawing it. It is a very complex set of relationships, and I think there is no doubt that the deeply held resentment of the United States in, let's just say, in traditional communities, in this case, the traditional Muslim communities, does in fact elicit a kind of, or press toward a kind of extremism to oppose that, because it's unacceptable and hedonistic and materialistic and all the other terms that you quoted me as invoking.
Okay, but so George, let's say that's so, and I don't know whether that's so, but at least seems to me it plausible. You know, so one reaction is, well, that's why we really need to spark a debate inside the Islamic world so that people are no longer as bound to fundamentalist views. But I think your point is, no, this is not just the fundamentalists. This is ordinary people who are not at all, as you say, who reject all that stuff, nevertheless feel this anger. Well, so if that's so, what exactly can we do about it?
Well, I think you put your finger on what I would agree is the long-term solution, and that the subtitle of Global Quest, if it stays, will be something like seeking inclusive communities. And I think that the response has to be, in the long run, what the moderate Muslim who certainly is there would argue, namely, we have to be able to have communities that include diversity within them. I think we undermine our capacity to make that case when we work on the assumption that the way to get to those sorts of communities is have everybody agree with us in terms of the kind of frame of reference that is modern Western liberalism or individualism, because that seems as if it's defining what the inclusive community will be based on what we already think we've achieved here. And the challenge is to shape communities that really can incorporate diversity within them. And if we take an example that is in front of all of us right now, Syria is a huge tragedy that is unfolding before our eyes. And anyone who proposes a solution to the crisis in Syria that does not include a role not only for Sunnis, but also for Shia and even for Alawites, the sliver of the Shia community that has been controlling Syria under the Assads. Unless there is a move toward a community that does not insist on having all members of it adhere to one ideology, there is absolutely no way of solving a problem as complex as Syria. And if we have any doubts about that, we can just look at Iraq, where there was some chance, in fact, that a pluralistic community might have come out, but Nouri al-Maliki has increasingly insisted that the Shia control everything, which means that we're basically having the Sunnis go back to war. So this isn't just a theoretical, abstract concern. It has to be possible to build a polity that includes multiple communities.